You must all be very excited about doing your first video recording. Let's start with the simpler tool, PowerPoint. So here is an outline of this video. We will start with some initial setup. This basically ensures that the mic is working and slides are ready. Then we will see how to record. While you are recording, you may want to use the pen, in which case how do you do it with PowerPoint. So that is the write and annotate. And finally, you would want to export your recording into an appropriate format. Typically, we use MP4. So how do you export it to this particular format? So this is what all we are going to see as part of this video. So what are a few things to check before you start recording? Your presentation should be ready. So you should create a PPT, go through it carefully once and ensure that everything is ready. So that is step one. Another thing also you need to ensure is that your mic is working. There have been instances where you record nicely and after recording you realize that the audio is not there as part of the recording because you didn't take care in setting up the mic properly. So this is also very important. How to do it? These are the steps. So let's see it in action. So to check whether the mic is working correctly or not, so here is the Windows search bar where I'm going to go to control panel. So I'm just searching for it. So this is the control panel. In the control panel there is hardware and sound. Within this there is sound here again. And here if you can see there is the recording button and here is the microphone. You are seeing two microphones because I'm using an external mic to record. This is my internal mic. This is an external mic. As I talk, you can see that both are fluctuating. That means the mic is working fine. This is what you need to check. You may not have two mics. You may have only internal mic. This is the where you would have to check. So we are all set. Now that your PowerPoint presentation is ready, you have already checked that the mic is working fine. How do you record? Open the presentation, that is the PPT. And then you have to follow these steps. These steps are basically for your reference. Let me show it in action. So to record, the first thing you need to do is open the presentation. So my presentation is already open. And if you see this bar here, you have to go to this place called slideshow. Okay. When you click on the slideshow, it is going to throw up a menu like this, and right beneath it you have this record slideshow. And there is a drop down here. So when I do this drop down, it asks me for two options. Start recording from beginning or start recording from current slide. Depending upon what you are doing, for example, if you are just now starting, you will definitely use start recording from beginning. But if you have already recorded a few slides, you should do start recording from current slide. I'll choose start recording from current slide. So when I do this, it will ask, asks for a few other options. Select what you want to record. Do you want to record timings? In other words, how much time you are spending on a slide, and also any ink or laser pointer. This is important when you use the pen option. I'll just select both for now and I'm clicking on start recording. Now it takes me to a screen like this with one control over here. So let's see what this control means. What is being shown here is the time I'm spending on this current slide. So I've spent 20 to 23 seconds on this current slide. Now if I click this, I'm going to advance to the next slide. As you can see, this got reset to 0, whereas this is continuing to increase because this captures the time I'm spending since the beginning of my recording. Again, if I click, it will go to the next slide and it is going to reset. So this is measuring how much time I'm spending on the current slide, whereas this is since the beginning of recording what is happening. While recording, I can also pause. So I have paused here. It says the recording paused. Pausing is very useful because sometimes you have to collect your thoughts. So I pause frequently before I record. Even few bullets, I think what I'm going to tell. I speak what I tell, again pause, gather my thoughts again, figure out what I'm going to tell next, and then again resume my recording. So pause is a very useful feature. Now when I do this, what this repeat means is I have spent 21 seconds, 22 seconds on the slide already. When I do repeat, it is going to reset this to 0. That means whatever I have recorded on the slide got erased, and it is going to restart my recording for this particular slide. So when I do this, again it is starting from 1 and things are continuing. You can go ahead or back with the slides using the arrow keys on the keyboard as well. So if I do this, I am doing resume recording, and if I do this, it takes me to the next slide, which is basically I am clicking on the arrow button on my keyboard, the down arrow button, and if I click the up arrow button, it's going to take me back to the previous slide. But again notice that when I do this, when I went to the previous slide, it has overwritten the recording that I have done earlier. Again, if I do previous slide by clicking on the up arrow button, it is again re-recording whatever was earlier recorded on this particular slide. So I would not recommend you to use the arrow buttons, because accidentally you may end up re-recording what you have already recorded. The best practice, which I want to emphasize here, is record one slide at a time. In other words, if this is the slide I want to record, I will talk whatever I want, and once if I'm not happy with it, I will repeat by pressing this button, resume recording, until I'm happy with this slide. I will continue. Once I'm happy with the slide, I will actually close this button, go back to my presentation, go to the next slide, and then use saying record from the current slide. And again, I will spend some time on this slide, do a proper recording of it. Once I'm happy, again I'm going to close it. Then I'll go to the next slide, again use the same current slide, and repeat this process. This ensures that each slide has the right audio associated with it. This up arrow button, down arrow button, or going forward, backward, if you are not careful, you will end up overwriting the recordings. So just be careful when you record using PowerPoint. Okay. So one thing you will notice here when I did this recording is this button here. As you can see, an audio button has appeared against every slide because I did some recordings. You can in fact play this to see what recording you have done. So this is my earlier recording, it plays. For a student, if they do a slideshow and from beginning, these automatically play. So we covered the best practice. One other thing I should also mention is sometimes you may not be very happy with the recordings on a given slide and you may want to delete it. For this, you can go to slideshow. Again, here there is a clear option. Here you can decide whether you want to clear the narration on the current slide or on all slides. I don't want any narration on these slides, so I'm going to select this. This is going to remove the narration on all the slides.